What is going on, college basketball fans? Today we're going to be talking some Kansas State basketball because they have been on an absolute tear lately, and I believe that they are for real and have a legit shot at making a deep run in this year's tournament. So I'm ready to get started. Just want to say subscribe if you guys are new. We do a ton of college basketball content here on the channel. Hit that like button, and yeah, guys, let's get started. All right, so Kansas State started off this season 14-1 under first-year head coach Jerome Tang. We're going to get into Jerome Tang in a second because he has been doing an excellent job so far this season. But not only are they 14-1 on the year, but they've started off in league play in the Big 12 conference, the best conference in college basketball, 3-0, and two of those coming on the road, and one of those coming by scoring 116 points. So their first game in the Big 12 play was a close one against West Virginia, a very sloppy game, a lot of fouls in that game, but they were able to come away with that one in overtime, and then they went on the road at Texas and defeated the Longhorns by putting up 116 points on the road, handing Texas their first loss in their brand new Moody Center Arena, which is a great atmosphere as well. Then they went on the road, a second road game back to back, and defeated Baylor in a very close game. I mean, those are massive wins right there, and they are up to number 11 in this week's AP poll and up to number 6 in my personal power rankings that I came out with this week. So they went from being unranked all the way up to number 11. Massive jump. Number 6 for me, like I said, and really a big part of that is because of Markquis Nowell. Markquis Nowell is a superstar in college basketball. I mean, he is definitely a star. If he can keep up this level of production or close to it, he is definitely one of the best players in college basketball because he is putting up 17 points per game, 9 assists per game, and 3 rebounds per game. I know it's only 3 rebounds per game, but he is 5'8", so that is still very impressive, and he's getting 2 steals per game on the defensive end as well, and he's doing it with good shooting splits as well. I mean, he is actually very efficient while he is putting up these numbers, and I believe that he is one of the top passers in the country, 100%, between him, Daquan Harris, Yuri Collins, and probably Wheeler there at Kentucky. Those are probably the best passers in the country, and Markquis Nowell might be the best one of that group. I mean, he is an insane passer, like I said, 9 assists per game in college. That is very, very impressive. He has really turned up in his last 3 games in the Big 12 play. So in league play, in his first game against West Virginia, he put up 23 points and 10 assists. Very solid game, really good numbers. But then against Texas, in the game that they put up 116, he had 36 of those points, 9 assists, shooting 9 of 15 from the field. So he put up 36 on only 15 shots. Very, very efficient in shooting 6 for 10 from behind the three-point arc on the road. And they say offense doesn't travel, but man, Kansas State's offense has looked very good the past 2 games. And then in the most recent game against Baylor, probably maybe his most impressive game yet, he put up 32 points, 14 assists. I mean, crazy. Shot 8 for 16 from the field. So again, 32 points on only 16 shots, and shot 4 of 7 from behind the arc. Very efficient. Markquis Nowell is a superstar. Let's talk a little bit about Jerome Tang, because Jerome Tang in his first season as Kansas State head coach has them as the number 11 team in the country, and he was on Scott Drew's staff there at Baylor for 19 years, hired in 2003, worked behind Scott Drew, and he has really watched Scott Drew and helped him build up the Baylor program to what it is today. Baylor was not always a powerhouse. That was because of Scott Drew and this staff, which include Jerome Tang. So they know how to build up a program enough to win a national championship like they did there at Baylor. So I think that Jerome Tang was an amazing hire, super underrated hire. I mean, hindsight's 2020, right? But looks really good. They need to do everything in their power to make sure they keep Jerome Tang as head coach, because he knows what it takes to build up a program from the bottom all the way to the top, like he did helping Scott Drew do it there at Baylor, and he has already started with this 14-1 season here early this season. It's crazy impressive given all they lost from last season. They were projected to be last in the Big 12 and a very good Big 12 conference, right? But still projected to be last in that league. Probably not expected to make the tournament by any means, but now look where they're at now. I mean, even if they don't stay at this level, I mean, even finishing middle of the pack of the Big 12 will get you a pretty decent seed in the NCAA tournament, and they got some superstars on their team that could really help them make a deep run into March, even if they are only still a 5 or 6 seed when it all comes down to it. Let's break down their roster a little bit. So we talked about Marquise Noel. Let's talk about their other superstar in Keontae Johnson. Keontae Johnson is a transfer from Florida. He has not played basketball in 2 years after a crazy collapse that happened in a exhibition game at Florida, and Florida was not going to clear him to play again. So amazing comeback story for Keontae Johnson to not only come back, transfer to a different Power 6 level school in Kansas State, but play, become a starter, and put up insane numbers. I mean, Keontae Johnson, one of the best transfer pickups this offseason. He's putting up 18 points per game, 7 rebounds a game, and 2 assists per game on amazing shooting splits as well, just like Marquise Noel. 58% from the field and 41% from the three-point line. Those are amazing numbers. Keontae Johnson, like I said, one of the best transfer pickups this offseason, and him and Marquise Noel are a star duo there in Manhattan. Their other starters at shooting guard, we got Cam Carter, a guard. He's averaging 7 and 3. He's only a sophomore. I think he has a ton of potential, and he could be a project there for Jerome Tang to keep developing over the next couple of seasons. At the power forward position, you got Naquan Tomlin. He is a forward, 11 points per game, 5 rebounds per game. He is probably the third best player on this team. He gives them a lot of production there at the power forward position. Maybe need to get a little bit more boards out of him, but Keontae Johnson definitely helps in that facet of the game. Like I said, he is averaging 7 boards a game. Then at the center, you have Iola. He's only averaging 5 and 3, but I think I see a lot of potential in Iola there at the center position. I think that he could get better over the course of the season, especially now that Kansas State's expectations look to be a lot bigger than what they once were. So I think that he is going to put in some work and could get better throughout the season as well. On the bench, they do have Desi Sills, who is averaging 8 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. He is definitely their 6th man coming off the bench at the guard position, and he provides them a lot of good production there off the bench. They don't have a very deep bench. They usually run 7 or 8 men deep, but Desi Sills is a big piece of this team. All right, to close it out, let's talk about what Kansas State lost from last season and why they were projected to be last in the Big 12. They lost their head coach, Bruce Weber. He did resign after the season, after the Big 12 tournament. I think that he was expecting to get fired, so he went ahead and resigned, but maybe the best case scenario for this team, because they went and found a diamond in the rough in Jerome Tang as the head coach, picked him up off Scott Drew's staff, and he is doing amazing things so far in year 1 of his coaching stint there. They also lost their star point guard, their star freshman point guard from last year, in Nigel Pack, a guy that was supposed to be, a Kansas State star for years to come, and Marquise Noel was supposed to be his backup. But right now, Marquise Noel is playing better than Nigel Pack is at Miami. Like, Nigel Pack's still a good player. He's not the number 1 option on that Miami team, which is why he doesn't have quite as good of numbers as Noel, but I personally believe right now Noel definitely better than Nigel Pack. So the fact that Jerome Tang was able to do that and get his 5'8" point guard that was supposed to be his backup to his star point guard in Nigel Pack and help him develop into what he is today and game plan for him to be the star there with Keontae Johnson, super impressive, and I can't say enough about what Jerome Tang, Marquise Noel, Keontae Johnson, and this whole Kansas State staff and roster has done this season. It has been very impressive, and I am not saying that they are going to win the national championship, but I do think that they have, as far as Final Four potential, this season and could make a deep run. I would be very surprised if this team, from what I've seen so far, as long as we keep seeing a lot of good things come from this team rest of the season, I would be surprised if this team lost before the Sweet 16. And like I said, I think they have Final Four type potential. Some of the concerns, we've been talking all things good here about the Wildcats. Let's talk about some of my concerns for this team in the long run. They don't have a very good bench. Like I said, they play about 7-man deep, but they don't have a really good bench. So they're relying on their 2 stars in Keontae Johnson and Marquise Noel. If their stars are having an off day or they're getting double teamed, getting boxed up, I worry about this team being able to look to new options and really go to those options in order to try to get a much needed bucket when their stars are struggling. So that could happen in any game. When you get down to March Madness, they're going to, I'm sure, if Kansas State is the top 5 seed and they're playing a 12-13, they're going to try to take away the star players and try to make other guys beat them. So I worry about if Kansas State has the depth on this team to allow for other players to beat them. Like I said, some of these other players, they do have potential and they're starting to get better, but they definitely rely on their 2 stars up to this point in the season. And I also worry about their defense a little bit. Their defense has looked good in some games, but whenever they are putting up 116 points, 90 points, the other team kind of matches that energy. You know, Texas put up 103 on them, so I worry about their defense. Baylor put up over 90 on them, and their defense definitely has to get better whenever they are getting all the momentum and scoring. And I know it's tough on the road to do that and keep the momentum, but they got to get some stops on the other end as well to really pull away and become a complete team. So like I said, this team has a lot of potential. I think that their peak potential is probably Final Four, but I definitely could see them making a deep run at least to the Sweet 16. So let me know what you guys think about this Kansas State team. How far do you think that they are going in March Madness this year? No matter how far they go, it is an accomplishment for year 1 of Jerome Tang. Like I said, they were projected to be last in the Big 12 and miss the tournament, so they have already, in my opinion, exceeded some expectations from the preseason and have done an amazing job. So let me know how far you guys think that they are going to go this year. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching.